Our mini speaker is going to be Steve Rogers. Steve, over to you.
Thank you, Brian. What a treasure this man is. I mean, thank God for people like Brian. But he gave me a seed of an idea and he said, Steve, let's talk about something you know about aviation. I said, well, God, 90% of the room is going to know more about aviation than I ever did. But photography, yes, I can cobble together something, and this is my poor effort. I hope you like it. If at the end of this talk, at least one person has one idea out of this, I'd be grateful that that happened. The rest of you can nod off. Okay. Photography and aviation. Now, how curious that two technologies came along together pretty much at the same time. How did I get interested in photography? Well, it says there my interest in planes and cameras began as I started to fly, and I wished to share my experiences with my friends and family. So most flights I would have a camera handy to film what I had seen. But other people, of course, had a sinister view on what you can do with cameras, and World War I and II and the Cuba crisis, Gary's powers and so on certainly proved that. But other people too have a decided interest in photography, and I stumbled across the vintage Aviator Co in New Zealand. I urge people who are interested in this sort of thing to have a look at that. These people actually build World War I planes in New Zealand. What a fantastic outfit, but they also have a great library of stills, of videos for people like me to have a look. This person here was pretty unlucky, wasn't he? Found the only tree in the paddock. That's what happened when you're not looking, I guess. But to cater for those who have an interest in photography and aviation, Airbus, they didn't do this on a whim. They actually deliberately put a tail fin and a belly camera in there. I'm waiting for them to put a dash cam too. Perhaps one pointed back at the pilots. There she is, my darling Nan, my first passenger. How curious that the only person who came to fly with me is the person you'd think would be least likely to, my aged Nan. And she was born 3 years before the Wright brothers' first powered flight. I suppose that's me touching back into history. I hope, you know, that's what I think about anyway. But if you're filming and you're by yourself, then these rules still apply. You aviate, navigate and communicate. My folks had a house down in Medina, and I said to them, I was early PPL, and I said, I'll be over at 10 o'clock, hop in the backyard, look up and you'll see me. I had the video camera, opened the window, popped it out the side and started filming, and I thought after a while, my goodness, I must have the zoom on. It's getting awfully close, and I looked up and I was in a spiral dive. So remember to fly first. But other people also have interesting stories. This is Nearmap. I'm not sure how many know this, but there are actually aircraft in Perth flying over your house many times a year. Each of those dots at the top, these things here, represent the time they took a photo of your house. Why they do it is, of course, not curiosity, but people like the councils use these photos to look for things like unauthorised building activity. I better also remind my neighbour that his wattle's growing over my fence again. Most flight planning software these days has a Google Earth application so that you can actually, and I know this is stretching the truth, photography from planes, because that's a bloody high-flying plane, isn't it? It's actually in space when they take that photo, but the point is that you can look at where you're going, you can look at waypoints, etc., and what they look like from the air before you actually go there. I find that's a very fascinating use of photography relating to aviation. The earliest reference I could find to actual movies was this ad for the Edison kinetoscope. The information in here was that if you haven't got, if you haven't got electricity in your town yet, they will find you an alternate light source, candles perhaps. But anyway, it was in 1884. The results were very primitive, of course. It took 36 years for Kodak to introduce the 16mm movie film, and then again the 8mm came later, and many more other formats like high 8. It was until much, much later that sound became available. It'd been in movie theatres, of course, for a long time, but that was the sort of equipment that you used when you were shooting with Super 8 film. Cumbersome, slow, and the film itself was 5 minutes long. That means if my DVDs that I took of Oshkosh had been taken on 8mm film, I'd be still paying the bank back. Super 8, as I said, 1965. Again, it's another 8mm format, but this is in a handy cassette. And this is when Cessna first sold their C-150. I know photography's had a lot of exponential development since then. I'm not sure the Cessnas have. If you look out there, the C-150 is not a lot different to what the C-150 was. But then came a momentous shift. You'd be familiar with beta cord. I certainly put my hand up and bought the first beta cord, which was a wrong move because they were superseded by the VHS. But it allowed a process called time shifting. And you'd all be familiar with, well, in this Olympic year, you'd be going home and recording programs at night that you want to watch next morning. That's time shifting. The VHS was the system that introduced us to that. But the companies that introduced Betacord and VHS had nothing previously to do with photography. That's the thing that I find absolutely stunning. So Kodak were going on, and Sony and JVC took 36 years before they got to the point where they bankrupted Kodak, because Kodak never saw it coming. They, of course, were in sound recording and playback, which is recording electromagnetic signals on tape, getting away from chemical photography. What a shift. But the tape system didn't stop there. Innovations like the mini DV came in, which is still used today, and I know Brian Hearn's got a camera, I certainly have, which use these tapes. They're great, they're 60 minutes, 90 minutes long. Disadvantages, they are subject to vibration, so if you violently move the camera when you're filming, you'll know about it. Other formats to follow, the mini DVD. A curious thing this, you actually, as you're photographing, creating a finished product in the DVD. It didn't catch on for good reason, because who the hell does that? You've got to edit that thing, and it was an anomaly. But still around and very popular is this one here, the so-called stick camera. They're small. The memory is very cheap, and they go in your pocket so you don't look like a tourist when you're travelling around in Russia. Now, I guess most people in this room have a mobile phone of sorts, right? Yep. Well, you've got a movie camera and a still camera in your pocket. And what are they? Well, essentially they're a device to capture onto a solid state or a flash drive the information you get from a video or a still camera, a still photo. But here's the conundrum for me. The still camera over here, a damn fine camera, can take movies. This movie camera, another damn fine movie camera, can take stills. One day we might get a bit of a crossbreed going there. But the price might have something to do with it. Back to the days when you set up your film evening. Out came the projector and the screen and the film on big 400-foot rolls and so on, and then everyone sat down and you couldn't really fast forward the thing. You can't go back with the thing, and if you pause, you burn the film. I guess a lot of those films still are in people's boxes in their back cupboards, languishing there. So what the heck do you do with all that information? Because this is something perhaps the children, the grandchildren might be interested in. So converting the old legacy formats to digital, there's two processes here. The first is 8mm movie format, so essentially a series of photos. To convert them, you've got to run the film through a dedicated projector, which takes with an LED cool light a single photo of every single frame. And this, of course, you couldn't do manually, but you do automatically, and that's the process. And there are companies that are set up. You can Google, or you can go on the Yellow Pages in Perth. There's probably about 50 companies that do that. I today have brought along business cards. If anyone's considering this company did mine, and they did a good job. I wouldn't consider this an amateur process. It's not for amateurs. However, Any device that has an outlet which is a red and a white audio and a yellow if it's a video source, from any source, be it your tape deck, your record collection, your old mini DV films, etc., can be converted by a very inexpensive machine. I use an Elgato video capture, cost about $220, connected to my computer, run all this material through the player that you know, the old player that uses it, and voila, you have a digital file. It is so cool. So, wrapping up this, the process for 8mm video or Super 8, use a professional, but you convert your slides, your vinyl records. I'm playing on my car radio via my iPod all my vinyl records. I just find it amazing, the technology. What does it look like? Well, here's me many years ago with a 10-second flight of a plane that took me months to build. There it is, crashed. How easy is that? So you can overdub it with sound, do anything with it. And with it being a digital file, of course, you can muck around with it. You didn't know that I once dated Marilyn, did you? But half the fun of all of this is in the editing. Taking the photo is one thing, but doing stuff with it is another. I use a program called iMovie. Looks complicated, it's dead easy, I assure you. It's on an Apple computer, but you can get them on PC as well. All the film that's imported goes in here. You just decide what you want to put up here, and then you do stuff to it. Here the blue bars represent titles, but you can add still photos, you can bring in sound, and the finished result is here, and then up right here is share, and you can tell the program what you want to share to a DVD or whatever. In my case, the better movies went onto YouTube, so that's my website. And curious people, 2,000 hits, probably family and friends went to see what I have. And this is what you see when you go to my website. When I was in New Zealand, I stumbled across an ag pilot doing this thing in very hilly country, which amazed me. I thought it was exceptional flying. So a small 20-second grab of the sky flying about the skies in New Zealand. So what happens now? Well, I can't foresee the future, and I don't think many people can, but I can tell you what's possible right now. This group, through these meetings, has over 80 sessions, such as the one Brian is going to be talking about, mine. These go onto DVDs. Stan Shure is kind enough to film these, and he will give you a copy of DVD for a very reasonable price if you ask him. But these go back many, many years. Again, you privately have probably film of your own. You can set up your own YouTube channel yourself if you have an interest in this sort of thing, or even give it to others who do. I did such a thing. This is the Old Fliers Group channel on YouTube. It has one film in here. It's the sports aircraft flying at Langley Park last year. And you can click on that. It's an easy process to find it. You just type in Old Fliers Group as one word. It has a subscribe button at the top. And if you have a YouTube presence and you subscribe to that every time there's an upload, it will go on here. But what if all the sessions from the Old Fliers Group were on that website? The guys who perhaps couldn't make it to these meetings, their apologies, could go and look at in a month and have a look at what went on in the previous month, and you could imagine the interest in that. So it's all about passing on to the next generation what we are experiencing now, I feel. So thank you for your attention.